The southern shore, as it is locally known, is the easternmost coastline of the island of Newfoundland. It proudly reaches into the Atlantic Ocean and hosts some of the oldest settlements in North America, complete with colourful names such as Petty Harbour, Bay Bulls, Mobile, and Burnt Cove. Over 150 kilometres long, it is both bucolic and desolate. Hills that plunge into the forest valleys carved by salmon rivers sit against the rocky and windswept barrens, punctuated by fishing villages. A dramatic coastline complete with a long and textured history. This series celebrates the unusual, the courageous, and the quirky stories that seem to define the communities of the area. And while some are known by locals, the finer details are unknown to others.
Sir George Calvert might sound familiar to most Newfoundlanders. That's where Calvert got his name, actually. It used to be called Capelin Bay. But this is the story about Ferryland, not Calvert, mostly. Calvert was this fella who was tangled up in the aristocracy of King James I of England in the early 1600s. Somehow, he ended up with a significant piece of land, or province at the time, in Newfoundland. This stretched down most of what is now known as the Southern Shore. Calvert was also known by his noble name, Lord Baltimore, another name that might sound familiar to you. In 1621, Calvert, or Lord Baltimore, or whatever you want to call him, sent a crowd of people from England to Ferryland. He sent them over to establish the first permanent European settlement in North America. And these people became, really, the very first settlers in what will eventually be known as Canada. But then again, there's also Cupid's, which had colonists settled almost 10 years earlier. History isn't always clear as a pie. By 1627, there was a lot of money put into developing Newfoundland as a colony, and around 100 people living in the colony of Avalon, or Ferryland. At this point, with things going well, Baltimore decided to visit the settlement, with another slew of people in tow, including his family. His first winter was mild and his spirits were high, writing that this place was wonderful and habitable. But after a more typical winter, Baltimore writes King Charles I and says he had suffered much in this woeful country, where with one intolerable winter we were almost undone. It is not to be expressed with my pen what we have endured. So, he only lasted a single winter in Newfoundland before deciding to commit the place to the fishermen and take off for what is now Maryland. You might know the capital as Baltimore. About Newfoundland, Baltimore told the king that from the middest of October to the middest of May, there is a sad face of winter upon all this land, both sea and land so frozen for the greatest part of the time that they are not penetrable. No plant, no vegetable thing appearing out of the earth until it be about the beginning of May, nor fish in the sea, besides the air so intolerable cold as it is hardly to be endured. My house hath been a hospital all this winter. Doesn't really sound like much has changed in 400 years. So when you hear somebody call the winter we're having a Lord Baltimore winter, it's referring to his first mild winter, where he believed this to be a miraculously nice spot to settle, only to be brought to the edge of death by the next winter.